We're live. Welcome to the Stream of Consciousness. As always, 8 o'clock every Tuesday with John McGowan and Enoch, our friendly little anon who helps out with the stream and is our go-to for all things. I always call him the Australia's version of academic agent. So thanks everyone who's tuned in as always. John, good to see you, mate. How are you?
Hey guys, I'm amazed that we always manage to get the clip to finish at the exact moment, like every episode now. Yeah,
it's
that's
going
genius.
pretty good.
It looks fantastic.
Slowly honing it in. I know, right? It was like perfect timing.
We're locked in. Well, welcome back to the stream, guys. It's been a big week. It just went really quickly. I feel like we were literally just here yesterday, and then everything happened really quickly with the two Stevens. That yarn kicked off, and then we got into the hasty wave crashing and rolling back. Like it just feels like yesterday. Yeah,
it's all been a bit of a blur. I mean, I don't know where you wanted to start, but the two Stevens thing was just wild, and
that's crazy. It's still it still seems crazy to me. And I mean, we won. Like the forces of righteousness ended up succeeding. But just that it
I
went
think
to
for some of the guys on
in
the
the first
stream, we
place.
should sort of give him a crash course, just in case he somehow missed it. Although I don't think he would have.
Somehow missed the last week of us posting.
Yeah. So Dr. Stephen McInerney and Dr. Stephen Chavura, who are both academic fellows at Campion College, the Sydney Morning Herald, I think it was, or the Age, sort of went after them, and
Sydney Morning Herald,
so labeling them as far right and accusing them of being Nazis and all the standard horse shit, right? In an attempt to try and get them fired from their jobs and destroy their lives and destroy their careers. Except, as I pointed out on X and as you did as well, these journos don't understand that they're actually losing cultural power. They've actually lost cultural power, and all they have left is institutional power, and that's all circling the drain. So this, to me, felt like the sort of final death throes of this establishment left that's trying and shut everyone down, and it's just not working, right? Like they gave it their best shot. They tried to get these guys fired. They went after Campion College, and from what I've been seeing from Dr. McInerney posting, it sounds like everything's fine. It sounds like it didn't work.
Yeah, it just went absolutely nowhere, embarrassingly. And like most times when the media pulls a stunt like that and it goes nowhere, they've just crab walked away from it, no follow-up. And of course, these guys aren't on social media anymore, so it's not like they're engaging in the conversation about it like they used to be. Like they won't come anywhere near, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Scotty Tompkins, hi. We'll talk footy later, Scotty. So it just died in the ass really quickly.
When you say these guys, you're talking about the journalists, the
journos,
they've abandoned social media, so all they've got is their
exactly right
in their own.
So they're not a part of the conversation, so they can't egg this stuff on. There's no way for them to kind of build the story out from where it started. And so it died within 24 hours. One of the most telling things was I jumped onto Blue Sky the 24 hours afterwards. I think it was the Thursday last week. And like there were 2 mentions on Blue Sky, so that's how much penetration. I mean, they always accuse us of being in an echo chamber, and that the things we care about aren't real or whatever. But if they're not getting penetration with content like that on Blue Sky, then they have a serious problem. And I think I predicted last Thursday when Stephen Chavura's post was sitting around 150,000 views that I thought within 24 hours he would have more than the average daily readership of the Sydney Morning Herald, and he completely eclipsed that. So it was kind of, it was hard. It was bad that it happened in the first place, and we should kind of litigate that and dissect it a bit. But the fact it ended up where it did, and the guys are going to be fine, and there was a groundswell of support behind them, was extremely heartening. So if you're in the chat and you saw the petitions or you posted about it, well done. You are the media now. You won. Congratulations. And we will be pinning medals on your chest after we win.
When we eventually take over, all posters will get their special,
It'll be like an Antiques Roadshow episode in the year 2080, where it's like, my great grandfather was
won this in the
medal.
War.
in the meme wars of 2025. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Now, I'm just conscious of the time because I've noticed that. So we get deboosted on YouTube if I take a swig of my beer within it's like 3 minutes because it detects it. The AI knows that you're drinking and vaping on the stream. So I'm just going to give 30 seconds.
Well, no swearing. I'll try and keep my potty mouth in check as well because I think they pick that.
Yeah, swearing's definitely a big no, I think. But it's not like we care that much about YouTube. It'd just be nice to get a bigger audience so that we could have more drama. Because I mean, that's the whole point of this stream, right? We report on right-wing scene drama, and so it's only right that we try and generate more of it.
Well, just to keep on the thread about the war against the two Stephens. It was quite humbling to see everyone sort of come together among the online right, and it wasn't just the anons. Like Claire Lehman was out there, giving advice about how what the Sydney Morning Herald was pushing for was actually technically illegal, and everyone sort of came into the fold on this, even some of the normie conservatives, which I was surprised by, and then it really sort of precipitated those of you would have seen, and about almost 1,000 of you now have organically signed the petition that's going to Campion College, telling them to stand up against leftist cancellation attempts. We put together the joint British Australian Community and Revive Australia petition, and it went gangbusters. Like we didn't put any spend behind it. We just punched out to the different networks and out on X, and all the different posters started sharing it. We got more. I think we've cleared 1,000 subscribers by now, or 1,000 signups by now, to the point that it actually broke the system. So we now had to manually start sending the petitions to Campion College to make sure that they hold the line. And it's just a good thing to see. Like 1,000 petitioners might not sound like much, but bear in mind, BAC and Revive Australia don't have huge databases at this stage, and there was zero spend behind it. It was all organic. So for everyone who signed up, thank you. Wabuffet is saying that they did their part. Thank you so much. And if the two Stephens are watching, keep on keeping on, guys.
Yeah, you're doing amazing work for all of us. And, I think more than anything, it just exposed them to a wider audience. And, this is where the Sydney Morning Herald really overplayed their hand. Like maybe on some level, there's an audience for, when they go after the weirder kind of people in the movement, and we all know who they are. But, I mean, going after two academics who, take political ideas, take the ideology behind nationalism, behind nativism, and they communicate it in I don't want to say bland way, but they communicate it in an academic way. To go after them, it sends a really dangerous, it sends an incredible message to the rest of us. Like if they're going to do that to the two Stephens, what are they going to do to you, a shit posting online, if they ever get the chance? And I think certainly from some of our follow-up encounters with various figures on the left after the Charlie Kirk stuff, and some of our kind of attempts at cancellation from the right and the things we've heard. I mean, I think that some of them are learning at least that, hey, maybe this isn't the way we want to conduct business anymore. But yeah, this guy from the Sydney Morning Herald, Patrick, was it Begley? Begley, I think it is. One of the most interesting things was in the wake of it, like you said, like all the kind of normie conservatives who came out of the woodwork and supported them. Like I had some normie conservatives come out of the woodwork, message me and say, hey, this guy's tried this on me before. Like he's tried to, go after me for something I've said that he said was racist. And, these people like lawyered up and stopped it from happening. Which, it seems like they've kind of gone for low-hanging fruit here because the two Stephens, they're really doing this in their own time. They're volunteers. They have day jobs at Campion College, but this work, and like they're in history and philosophy, right? Like this is, actually, no, history and literature. McInerney's a literature lecturer. So this is their day. This is not their day job. Advocating for us, advocating for our people, and they've been punished for it. But this guy's tried it before. He's tried it with other people who are a bit more liquid and failed. So it just goes to show there's a real kind of push from the left-wing media at the moment that we all should be on guard for.
Yeah, I don't want to get too complacent, but I did appreciate the fact that for the first time ever, it kind of just seemed to not go anywhere. Well, not the first time. The first attempt was against Latham, right? And then this is kind of the next opening salvo. And I think it's representative of the fact that they've lost cultural power. They've only got institutional power to cling on to, but even that's dwindling. So, when you see people posting about, the coalition's taking the polls, and that's representative of the right falling apart. No, that's representative of the Liberals sucking and not actually being proper conservatives. So,
the Liberals are not the right to begin with anymore. I mean, I don't think
exactly
there is a single piece of even so much as conservative content coming out from the Liberals. So this is where the left kind of tie themselves in knots in this country right now, because on the one hand, they want to always be holding a brickbat to whack the Liberals with because, you're awful right-wingers, when they don't do anything right-wing. And then when an actual right-wing emerges that is openly and viscerally and in every piece of content a point of difference from the Liberals, they want to whack that too. And so, I actually think if we were to count them up, I mean, when they describe our people, they're probably saying far right. I mean, they've probably now downgraded the Liberals to just merely being right wing.
Just right.
Like, when Peter Dutton was fighting his election campaign, it was like all far right rhetoric from Peter Dutton. But now Susan Lee's just been downgraded to the occasional all right wing conservative.
yeah, exactly. It's it's an interesting paradigm shift, and I see a lot of people. Like Cos does it from time to time, but obviously he's got his own political bent on things. But a lot of people will go out there and they go, well, the Libs are tanking, and this is evidence that there's no right-wing momentum. It's like, no. The right-wing momentum is so good and so fast that the Libs are tanking is actually a sign of how good it is, because they are... Like they're completely separate to what this is and completely useless.
Don't even get me started on Cos this week, because I'll go on a 4-hour rant about generational theory. If you read my Substack this week,
I saw that thread of doom, and I opened it today, and I went, I haven't got time, and I just closed it.
I have nothing but respect for that. There's a guy who's been following me for years, and I suspect he's like an ex-staffer or something, and I think he's quite old, and like he just openly tells me when I post my Substacks, like he just gets in my mentions and he says, "Mate, I didn't read it. I'll get AI to brief it for me." Like, I actually respect that. I mean, good for you for being honest about it. But I did take Cos to task this morning over it, like, because I can respond to him because he actually follows me. He does.
That's right. He locked his account down a little bit post the 85% controversy.
Which, was, I think, a lot of our guys kind of piling in on him a little bit. But, I mean, it is what it is. You guys can get a little bit aggressive sometimes. but so he hasn't unfollowed me. And so I can, I can have a crack at him when I want to. And this morning, because he put something up about, it was one of those things like, the Liberals are never going to get Generation Z back. And it's all over. Like, there's actually a lot of data now, like a lot of serious data that says Cos's whole position on this is wrong. That this whole, you've got to campaign from the middle thing, the actual maths doesn't bear that out. If anything, the maths is saying that polarization polarizes candidates, not the other way around. So Cos is kind of coming from this view that the parties themselves lead the ideology of the voters, when every bit of hard, every professor in the mathematical humanities is looking at this stuff and saying, no, it's the other way around. The public is radicalizing politicians. That's what's happening. And, I think if you guys have seen me give talks at conferences and stuff like that, I often talk about normally distributed ideology, how ideology distributes on a normal curve. The latest research is actually that's increasingly not the case, and it's bimodal. So it's like two curves, like looking at a pair of boobs from the bottom down, and you're seeing like on one side a curve that goes up to the top of the right and down, and then back up again. So actually, the middle is becoming even less relevant, and people are polarizing increasingly. So Cos just doesn't seem to get that, because he's stuck in this, what I call a pseudoscientific way of thinking around, generational cohorts and etc., which are just completely irrelevant, especially in the digital age. So Yeah, I don't think Cos is kind of on the money right now at all. But it'll be interesting to see the extent to which, well, what everyone else is thinking. I mean, I'd be fascinated to know who actually does One Nation's numbers and what they're saying internally. You know, because One Nation is probably, I mean, it was big last week when we streamed, but I think in the last week, as more polls have come out, One Nation is increasingly the story. I mean, how can these guys keep saying the right is dead when One Nation are polling at 12, 13%? Right? Yeah. How do you explain that?
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that's just disaffected libs bleeding over, or do you think it's, you know, so like a consolidation of all the micro right into one bigger party? Because you talk to a lot of the guys in all the micro right parties, and they're kind of just fed up with having, you know, infinity Gorillion parties as well. So,
well, I mean, it kind of got lost in all the wash up from August 31 March for Australia. But do you remember there was that big, you know, meeting of the five families kind of thing with the micro parties, and they invited Joel Jamal.
That's right, to like mediate it,
and he streamed it. Yeah, and then it just kind of didn't go anywhere. I don't know what happened with it either, but it seemed like there was something like that going on. I mean, I don't know how advanced their thinking is on this stuff. I mean, you know, One Nation are probably feeling pretty good right now. The other minor parties are probably thinking, oh, well, we can pick up the scraps from the table. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's really thinking that seriously about it. I mean, I don't think it is just disaffected Liberals, because when Green Goblin just said -1 view every time John drinks. Green Goblin, can you be responsible for keeping count of that, actually? Because I want to get some analytics on this so we know how to increase the stream's audience for the future. Yeah, with One Nation, I don't think it is disaffected Liberals at the moment, because every bit of intel we're getting from what just came out the back of Liberal state conferences and AGM season and doing all their pre-selections suggests very strongly this disaffection has been there for a while. So I really can't see that in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, like why in the last month has it happened? Like, if disaffected Liberals were going to jump ship, it could have been before. I mean, I'm loath to admit it because I was a harsh critic of it, but could it be the One Nation branch push? I mean, could it be that they're getting more engaged at a grassroots level? I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to get a hold of that stuff. I mean, we were saying to one of our mutual friends today that actually we don't have any sight into One Nation. Like, I have way more like moderate Liberal contacts than I have One Nation contacts. So if you are a One Nation staffer watching, I will buy you a beer.
It could be excitement for the movie length cartoon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they announced that at CPAC, and I think this data predates CPAC, a lot of it. Newspoll and Essential are definitely downplaying it a bit. I mean, their numbers aren't as big as the others. Oh, sorry, no. Essential's numbers this week weren't as big as YouGov and Newspolls. But yeah, it could be that. Could be that element.
Look, I think in the UK there's like a pretty incompetent Conservative leader, and they're just hemorrhaging support to reform. So I think that's a big part of it. Lay's
it's a difference. Yeah.
People just going somewhere else.
It's a different situation though in the UK, because where you've got the actual Conservative Party that is meant to be nominally conservative, and then you've got them just not being conservative for a few years. Like, it's going to be a more pronounced bleed through. I think in Australia, what we'll see is something less catastrophic, just because, I mean, I think the catastrophic flight from the Liberals has already happened. I think it happened after 2019. And what we're seeing now is like actual, just people are pissed off and over them, like the true believers are walking away. Because I think fundamentally, I don't think they've ever had that reputation as a genuinely conservative party in the lifetime of a lot of people. Like, maybe for me, maybe for some of us watching, like if you grew up with John Howard or whatever, maybe you think it's kind of a conservative movement. But I mean, if you're a Zoomer, you've never known a conservative Liberal Party. Like, you just had the managed democracy, Scott Morrison, and then just a series of grotesque failures and mutants who are unelectable. So I think the percentage of people who kind of look at the Liberals electorally as even being viable and look at them as being conservative, it's just dwindling day by day. Like they're in, like, actually stop for a second. I reckon one just died in a nursing home right now, like just now.
Like, well, I mean, you see in the UK as well, like, the Tories had their conference, and if you look at the images that were going out on X, like half the room was empty. They had I reckon more people went to probably a Libertarian Party, event than what seemed to be at the Tory conference. So it just seems to be happening across the West of this like total. Well, for us it's total Liberal death, but for them it's total Tory death. And I don't think there's any saving it. Which good, great, move on.
Well, there's no one coming through. There's certainly no one coming through that could kind of recapture the energy the Tories have had before, or even recapture something authentically conservative. I mean, the majority of these guys are fundamentally, they're fundamentally liberals, right? I mean, and they take their advice from one of the world's arch liberals, the guy who invented the entire campaign narrative of the Liberal Party that is now circling the drain, Lynton Crosby. Yeah, that's who invented it. That's patient zero for the whole thing. I mean, you look today in the United Kingdom, and I mean, even on their news, right? Tony Abbott's sitting there talking about stopping the boats. Lynton is a one-trick pony. Actually, sorry, that's wrong. He's a three-trick pony, and it's 3-word slogans, and it's triplets of slogans, right? It's stop the boats, cut the tax. Like I can't even remember what the third one was in 2013. But
wasn't it like real solutions or some shit?
No, Real Solutions was 2015. I think Real Solutions might have been
Real Hectic Solutions.
Real Hectic Solutions. Yeah. Dr. Tradcon, who is very knowledgeable on this stuff, says during the days of Howard, I can assure you within the party, it was next to impossible to put a conservative point of view. He is exactly right. I mean, and I think I've made this point before on podcasts that, the Howard days were really just the dominance of the cult of personality around Howard. What I was getting at was that Howard at least portrayed externally that kind of feeling that he was in the conservative tradition. But you're right. I mean, the structural problems that the Liberals have now really began back then.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. So we said we weren't going to talk about the Liberals this much.
Well, I mean, a couple of people were like, "Oh, can you dive into like the latest Hasty stuff?" And it was like, I kind of don't care. Like, I've got like some gossip on Hasty. I don't have many opinions on it. I think I said to you that I really thought it was kind of the end for him. I don't think. I mean, like maybe he's gonna do something. He's gonna pop back up in the future, but I think at least for now, the issue has been put to bed, and he's going to kind of go into a semi-hibernation for a bit. But it was really interesting talking to Liberal snouts in the last 24, 48 hours about what really happened on Friday, because like there's two narratives, and what the media completely missed. And, these losers sit on insiders on Sundays staring at their navel over this stuff. They completely missed the key point, which is that one of them is lying. And lying really egregiously. So the Hasty narrative is that Susan sends out the charter letters. The charter letters say you don't have any role in immigration policy, or at least they say that. I mean, we don't know who does. I mean, I'm assuming Paul Scar, Jason Wood, and My Wife is a Migration Agent caucus, which meet every Thursday at a Chinese restaurant. So he's seen that, and he's hit the roof, and he's called Susan, and I said, I can't serve in a shadow cabinet where I'm not going to have any role on policy development and immigration. I'm walking. 7:00 that night, he puts out the statement. Hasty wave crashes, right? So that's the Hasty narrative. The Susan Lee narrative, which has emerged in the last 48 hours, is there was no such discussion about immigration at all. That he just said, I mean, he was going to resign. Like her statement was kind of nonsensical. And that it kind of blindsided her. And now we've got like sophomore MPs in party room attacking Hasty. We had a strategic leak from Dutton on Hasty over the weekend. And I mean, then today we've waiting for them to roll out. I'm waiting for them to roll out the hedonism bot from Futurama, Brandis.
Yeah. That's a good one, actually. Brandis will come up. More grapes, more wine. Yeah, that's a good
one. Tweak my nipple.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Tweak. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Yeah, Hasty being brought out on what's all those things? A liter, like by a bunch of like very svelte young liberals. Yeah. So there's these two narratives, right? And they're completely different. And no one has stopped and said, well, what matters here is that one of you isn't telling the truth. It matters it doesn't matter so much to us. I think a lot of us are TLD, non-hasty pilled, but it matters to the national conservative kind of body politic that the supposed our guy might have told this egregious lie. And it really matters if Susan Lee is lying about it. And no one cares to interrogate that. They're too busy probably going through Stephen Shavura and Dr. McInerney posts to find out counting up how many times I've said the word white. That's apparently the problem. So, that was really interesting. So the guys I spoke to in the last 48 hours were from Susan Lee camp, which is to say they were New South Wales Alex Hawke people. And then I spoke to people who are loosely affiliated with Hasty, but not like directly inside the Hasty camp. Oh, and I actually also spoke to a couple of New South Wales Angus Taylor guys. And they gave a completely different narrative, like a completely different narrative to the official one, which is actually that Hasty believed that today they were going to walk into party room and he was going to get ambushed with some kind of motion. This is coming from the Susan people. That he was going to get ambushed with some kind of motion that was going to force his hand on net zero. And that's why he pulled the pin, because he's not ready to challenge for the leadership. He doesn't have the numbers. And so he walked over immigration. He made up the immigration thing as a furphy to distract from the fact that he thought there was going to be a net zero thing happen this week that would have forced his hand. Now, I think that's kind of horse shit, because shadow cabinet solidarity only applies to things a shadow cabinet have even considered. And if there's one thing we know about this shadow cabinet is they haven't considered jack shit. Like, they haven't got any policies. So if someone puts something into party room, who cares? But that's their narrative. And then the narrative from some of the other guys is actually that he's just kind of tired, and he gets the call from Susan and he really doesn't mention immigration. He decides he's going to walk to stop the drama, and plus because he's disenchanted with the whole Home Affairs portfolio, as everyone knows. I mean, I think that much is legitimate, basically, from the experience of the last election. But then someone got in his ear, from probably someone from our side of politics, got in his ear and said, oh, you can kind of workshop it and say it was immigration and save some face. So, I mean, 4 narratives, and I don't think any of them are probably true. I don't think there's much evidence for any one of them. So what really happened, no one knows. And of course, in this country, we have a mainstream media that are just completely disinterested in finding out. They're more interested in Stephen Shavura's posts and Abby Chatfield having her boob grabbed by the paddle pop line.
Well,
welcome to Australia.
I don't want to spend too much time talking about a party that needs to die, but I will. Yeah. I'll insert a 5th theory that I heard from a couple of guys, and caveat, these are guys in the Susan camp, so it could just be them trying to spin narratives. But
which is what they were doing to me.
Their argument was that Hasty and some others originally rolled out on the whole, scrapping net zero thing, which is why he started with the, let's build Fords again video.
Yeah.
And whilst it kind of landed with the boomers and sort of went viral on Facebook and things like that, with the younger guys, it didn't land, because whilst most of the young liberal guys are kind of like, yeah, sure, get rid of net zero, just have an open market when it comes to energy, they don't care about that because they're being ethnically replaced. So in the grand scheme of things, that didn't fly. And so all the guys that are pushing the net zero narrative to try and get that over the line amongst the coalition, all the, business interest and whatnot, have gone, okay, migration's a thing, start talking about that.
Yeah.
And that's where the people come from. Now, I don't know. I mean, these are people that completely hate Hasty, so they might just be spinning complete bullshit to try and, sully his name. I don't know where it lands, but yeah, I've heard a few theories, and that's the 5th one that's gone out there, which is that the entire push for reducing migration is just a cover for trying to build momentum to actually scrap net zero.
I could have told these guys
migration gets dropped.
Yeah,
that's what I'm being told. I don't know if that's true, but
I could have told these guys a month ago that net zero wasn't landing with our people. Like, and you can see it in every single engagement metric. I mean, I got a column on Premium Plus on X for net zero. I'm seeing zero organic content. It's doing zero numbers on Facebook unless Sky is on and they're pumping bots into it. Like, net zero just isn't getting people excited.
It doesn't motivate people, right? Like, I think your average young right-wing guy, they'll probably go, oh, yeah, I guess so. You know, a freer market, right? If a coal plant's cheaper than nuclear or solar, then fine, go for it. But do they get out of bed anymore to start Adani?
No, they don't. And I mean, exactly. I mean, Adani's got an Indian flag flying above the factory, right? I did a Substack piece about 4 weeks ago on the new right case for renewable energy, right? And I was thinking I was doing it as a bit of a troll, and I actually got a lot of engagement, and guys messaged me and said, yeah, you know, actually this echoes what I'm thinking. I mean, how can you have a blood and soil movement if you don't have any soil because you've polluted it with PFAS and sluice out of coal plants and shit? Like, I mean, I think they're kind of missing the zeitgeist of the right in a lot of ways. I mean, they're kind of stuck in this kind of Abertonian 2013, 14, 15 mode of thinking where this is what gets people out of bed in the morning, and it just doesn't anymore. I don't think a lot of right wingers care about it. Yeah.
What was that, Enoch? He cut out. It's the whole what?
It's it's the number go up phenomenon. You'll have to apologize for my sickness. Like, we don't care about the GDP number anymore. Like, that's just secondary or tertiary. It's completely irrelevant.
And that's exactly right. I mean, this is a global phenomenon too. Today I was watching, I finally caught up on watching all the NatCon speeches from the US from mid-September. And I mean, because the Helen Andrews one was in the news about the great feminization or whatever, which I'm going to talk about later. And that comes out 100% clear from the US NatCon. Like, this is what every one of those speakers is talking about. If you watch Dan Ryan's stuff from NatCon Australia, this is what's coming out: is we don't care about GDP anymore. We don't care about the number going up anymore. We care about getting outcomes for our people and for our culture. And the days of a squiggly line going up to the ceiling, it's just not what's getting people excited. Because it used to be, like, back to the Howard era, like, it used to be when the line went up, your life got better.
Yeah, but that doesn't
happen anymore. But it doesn't happen anymore. The line is still going up. Like, my life has not gotten 0.03% better in the last 2 years. And I think significantly worse. Bank account probably has, but it's not because of GDP, you know. And I think that's going for the rest of the country.
Kids. So what does that tell you?
We're in this sort of perverse scenario now where actually, I think if you spoke to most young guys and you said, look, would your life get better if line went down? And they would probably say yes, right? Like, if the economy tanked but houses were affordable, I think most people would be like, well, I don't really care if we're in a mega recession.
Well, we're gonna. Yeah, that's exactly right. That question about what would happen if the line went down, and we're about to come into the period where we're going to see it out of the US. It usually takes about 12 months to get the really good analysis of what was going on in election campaigns. It was certainly the case in 2016. It was about 12 months before we really figured out what happened in Michigan, Wisconsin. In the last one, it was 12 months of thinking it was stolen by the deep state or whatever. So we're coming up to 12 months now, and the stuff you're starting to hear out of the serious commentators in the US is that Kamala Harris made this massive misjudgment about how Americans perceive the economy and how they perceive their own living conditions, because she just kept talking about jobs and growth, like she was a liberal, right? Like it was a Australian Liberal Party campaign, when Americans, and like this goes for Australians as well, who lived through COVID, have now realized that, hey, having a job all the time is not the most important thing. I can survive on less work. I can survive with less money in my pocket. You know, the world is changing, consumption is changing. And so the idea of a job is no longer the thing that kind of mobilizes people. Cost of living is what mobilizes people, because people have realized, yeah, I can sit at home, I can work from home on X wage, so long as I'm not paying fucking $70 for a case of beer, which is what I paid for this case of 2 years old today, which is an absolute offense.
I saw a post that someone paid $130 for a 30-gram pouch of roll your own tobacco. Like, just
I mean, that's stupid that you would even pay that much when it's just basically given away by Pakistani gangsters at most tobacconists. I saw that, and I think I very rarely agree with left wingers when they respond to things, but a lot of leftists in my feed like immediately posted, "What kind of a moron is paying?
Yeah, why are you buying that legally?
$121? Why? Why? Like, why would you do that?" Yeah, I couldn't understand that one, but. Yeah, I mean, this is the stuff people are thinking about, right? They're thinking about what are my living conditions like, and I don't think they get that. You know, the things we keep talking about around immigration and everything. That's part of that discussion on living conditions. You know, because okay, maybe your wage has gone up a little bit. You have a job. You know, you've got a 5% deposit on a house that just went up by $100,000, which we're going to get to. But if your living conditions have changed, where your neighborhood that used to be, you know, a cul-de-sac where everyone knew their name is now Star Wars people with machetes, then that's a change in living conditions. Like, it might not be quantified by the RBA as such, but it absolutely is.
Yeah.
So I don't think they grasp that this is a lot of what's happening out there in the real world.
But I need those immigrants to smuggle me cigs and beers. So
we're allowed just enough to keep the black market going. But this is the thing, right? Like you've got establishment pollies out there at federal state level saying, oh, you know, our policies are going to boost the economy, and then the next post that someone sees on social media is like Vic Poll saying, here's this guy that we let out of prison to go shopping. He ran away. Don't go anywhere near him because he's like really dangerous.
Yeah, if you see this guy,
with an inverted cross on his forehead, right?
Yeah. And he looks like he just came out of a Star Wars cantina.
Yeah.
Gloopy McDroop Drip. Don't go near him.
Don't approach him.
What about the guy? I mean, I don't
murder you. Like I don't care how much the economy's grown. I want that guy.
No, at that point you don't. Like the kid who the kid they released who got to go on the overseas holiday with his parents this week. Did you see that one? That was that one that's on the noticer.
It was already booked, so you know.
Yeah, it was already booked.
It was already booked.
I mean, how inconsiderate of the kid to do a machete crime when his parents had an overseas holiday planned. I mean, what kind of self-respecting judge would disrupt that? You know, it's for the economy.
So you know, you ever like you just sort of doom scrolling really late at night and you're starting to fall asleep, and so you read something and you're not sure if you actually read it. When I saw that, I remember waking up the next morning going, did I actually read that, or did I just like go into like a weird schizo?
I mean, you could at this point. You absolutely could just be dreaming them.
But this is the thing. Like, if I were to have a schizo dream to invent like insane scenarios, I wouldn't come up with that.
Yeah. And this stuff's happening every day now. I mean, you can, and it affects everything. Like this is one of the things about like the melting pots in the United States. Like, and this is where I think Trump is being really smart with the National Guard interventions, because it's kind of this tacit admission that there comes a tipping point where it's not just a racial or cultural thing. Like, it makes everyone crazy. Like when you're living through the zombie apocalypse, the skin color of the zombies ceases to matter at a certain point because you are infecting everyone with that level of craziness and lunacy that, you know, you got white people just acting the same. So it becomes less of a racial issue as time moves on. I think that's what's going to happen in Victoria. You're going to get to like the Mike Marr gothic violence stage where there's going to be like gangs of surf Nazis like walking around the streets. You know, you're going to just see it escalate and escalate. It's, you know what? I mean, Victoria's going to end up with Batman. That's what's going to happen down there. Like a guy's going to be like swinging around buildings in Brunswick in a costume. That's what's going to end up happening in Victoria any day now.
Well, this is the thing, right? Like the economic metrics are so delayed as to how you measure this stuff. So the immediate effects are when you've got people with inverted, you know, crucifixes on their forehead escaping, you know, shopping centers that the police let out with Star Wars names. People start not wanting to go out, and they don't want to go to restaurants, and they don't want to go down the high street. Like, in Croydon Park, there was a guy who was shooting like 50 or 100 bullets in Sydney the other night, and then like 10 minutes down the road there was another shooting.
Who was Greek, by the way.
And those streets are all ghost towns at the moment. those things aren't going to show up in any kind of economic metrics for probably
Did you
6
hear
to
that,
12
Drew?
months.
He was Greek.
Yeah,
He's Italian.
We're going to let Mick Manamus in later, and he's going to say he was a Cypriot.
I told you.
Mick is doing a whole 45-minute deep dive into total Cypriot death as we speak.
By the way, there already is a Victorian Batman. He founded Melbourne, so this would be Batman the Second.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah,
true.
That is, you're right. It was a Batman. Yeah, it's getting crazy now. I mean, just like we don't talk about the Liberals a lot because it's a failed political party. I hate talking about Victoria because it's a failed state. But my worry is that it's spreading. Is that it's starting to spread?
It's spreading to Sydney, definitely.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's spreading to Sydney. I was there's a few cops who follow me, who DM me occasionally about cop shit in Sydney, who've been saying like it's getting crazy. It's starting to get crazy, like noticeably crazy. And I mean, here in Tasmania, even it's getting weird. We have weird crimes down here.
The thing is, this isn't a complicated issue. Like the solution is twofold: stop them coming in, and the ones that are here when they do the wrong thing, crack some skull. Like, it's this isn't a complicated issue to fix, but for some reason, no one wants to touch it. Like,
No, they just don't want it. It's like, I mean, if you're a conspiratorial, you'd almost say they want it to happen. I mean, I think Tommy from Down Under said something before about, is it to bring in more draconian laws? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's like the RoboCop scenario. Maybe it's property developers who are just trying to like push down metropolitan commercial prices so that they can hoover everything up. I don't know. It does seem awfully strange.
It's hard not to
feel that.
When street level crime is such, and I don't want to do what we used to do on the old Spaces stream of consciousness where I rant about law enforcement policy for 20 minutes, but I mean, it is such an easy thing to fix that, it almost feels like, what Buffett just said, we're descending into anarcho-tyranny. Like, I don't like that term as a general rule because I think it puts too much kind of onus on the politicians that they could even cook something like this up, but it does kind of feel like anarchy at some point.
Well, it feels.
And,
like descent into it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Stay safe out there, guys. Like, get put padlocks on your doors. Buy a Ford Raptor or something. Right? The lefties always get angry about that. Like, what are all these Yank tanks doing on the road? Yeah, the Yank tanks are on the road because they can't carjack them. You could just drive through them.
Yeah,
it's like the LA riots out there in Victoria, like dunk, dunk, just bouncing off the car.
I mean, to borrow Matt Barry's term, it's like despite all this, we're like still it's all just Project Zimbabwe, right? Like you walk outside, chaos in the cities, then you look at the property market. Albo's announcing 5% deposits, which is just insane.
Which is crazy. Which, I mean, if you're a frequent flyer on Stream of Consciousness, you've probably noticed that we mostly talk about, whether it's the Liberals or insular right-wing stuff. We really don't talk, or like our enemies on the far left or whatever. We really don't talk about the Labor Party that much. But the 5% deposit thing is just so insane that I'm thinking, we do have to talk about that. That one is wild. Like, I mean, ironically enough, it is the biggest economic stimulus that I think the government has ever done.
Which
the line is going up.
Yeah, but like in and of itself, that's just damning. The fact that what's our economy? Homes and holes. Like, oh my god.
I was talking to a guy today.
Short moment.
Yeah, well, exactly. And the memes are all doing the rounds, the Big Short memes. I was talking to a guy today who he checked out a place in Newcastle at 9:50, and he was driving down to Sydney, and he was thinking about it on the drive down, and he said to his wife, because they live in the north, and he said, I want you to go down and put an offer on it. And so she drove down. 24 hours later, it was at 1.15. So they said that's what we're taking offers over. So not even, I mean, they were saying like 100 grand in 24 hours, but I mean, that one was like almost 200 grand which is actually 5%. So
yeah. And
the
thing that's so blatant about it is the government's not even trying to deny that this is the outcome. They're kind of just like,
Oh yeah, no, we meant this to happen. We meant
house prices have gone up, but at least you can get in.
And then did you see that there was like I didn't even follow it because I hate reading the news now. And as I said on last week's stream, I hate that remove paywall works again. So I'm reading Fairfax content, and that's not in the AFR and that isn't about watches. But I saw that they leaked the opinion poll on what people like. 37% of people want house prices to go up. That was out this week, and that felt very tactical. Like, okay, we've just done this policy, this ridiculous policy where we've put house prices up by $100,000 in every single postcode in the country. But look, 37% of us retrospectively agree with it. Like, it's just incredible that they're getting away with it. And they're getting away with it because the Liberal Party is non-existent, and they're getting away with it because One Nation is selling flags, and they're getting away with it because the Greens just care about the Levantine troubles, and they're getting away with it because everyone else is literally fucking insane. And yeah, it sucks.
I mean,
Mick, it really sucks.
We were talking about Mick before. I saw someone mention in the comments, which is that it looks like this whole scheme applies to everyone, even if you're not a citizen.
Yeah, foreigners. Yeah, you can be fresh off the boat. You can be on your bridging visa between learning dance methodology and getting a job at Uber Eats, and yeah, you can put down your 5% deposit. There's no drama.
Just become a 95% debt slave.
Could you even be like a full foreign resident and use this? Like,
I don't know. I don't know about that far. I mean, but interestingly, I would have thought with how like crazy the media are on far right conspiracy theories, that they would have debunked that. It's been 72 hours since that was posted,
it hasn't been
and
debunked.
I haven't seen a debunking or a rebunking from anyone. So yeah, I think that one's probably legit. But yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, someone just put in the chat a second ago that like, yeah, everyone with a house wants house. Matthew Clark said nobody who owns a house wants house prices to go down. You're exactly right. And this is the challenge with housing policy, right? So
yeah,
this like law enforcement policy is one of the few things I know anything about. In 2017, I went to work for the planning minister in New South Wales. And weird thing, when Gladys Berejiklian became Premier in New South Wales, her first ever press conference in 2017 was saying that we have a housing crisis and we want to fix it by building new homes. She was going to supply our way out of the housing crisis, which we knew existed. Like, what's that, 8 years ago? This is 8 fucking years ago we're talking about. And we were talking about the housing crisis then. Now, to Anthony Roberts, who was the planning minister, to his immense credit, he really did build a shit ton of houses. He built 128,000 houses. He actually pushed house prices down briefly. But we were, from like day one, I think we were going to it was CBIS or one of those bullshit conferences that he was speaking at. And that's where we kind of like had to articulate the message that the challenge is, how do you make houses more affordable while retaining the value of the houses, right? And it's like this paradox. How do you do that? And, you know, one way is you build more, right? You just build more. And because the gross wealth generation then comes from the fact that the people with the equity in the old houses are then going to invest in new ones, blah, blah, blah. But you know, there's no non-radical solutions to that when you actually look at it. Like, and no one is looking at those radical solutions. No one is looking at negative gearing. No one is looking at the underlying problems with the housing market, which are, you know, I mean, it's not a housing market fundamentally. It doesn't have any of the traits of a market. Because, like, if you look at the stock exchange, what is the defining trait of the stock exchange? You know how much everything costs, right? You go to a bunch of open homes this weekend, you know how much, you maybe know how much they sold for, unless you don't have like a RP data subscription, like you're relying on Domain and REA, who are invested in making sure house prices go up. You're relying on real estate agents who are invested in making sure house prices go up. You're relying on valuers for the banks who want to make sure house prices go up. Like, so there's no, like, you can't just open up a Bloomberg terminal and see how much all the houses are going for in this country. I mean, if I was in government this would be like the number one, like low-hanging fruit, easy thing I would do is say, look, we have all this data. We have up to the minute data on how much houses cost because everyone pays tax on these fuckers. So ATO has a live feed of every single house sale in the country within the, I don't know what the deadline is on the paperwork, because I think it's like 14 to 21 days. However long it takes the paperwork to clear. So they've got all the live data. Now, you should be able to go to a website in Australia, like or you can on the ASX, and you should see how much every single house in the country sells for. That starts fixing things, right? It's not a big step, but it's a step in the right direction, because how do you generate wealth from stock markets? You buy the dip, right? Imagine if the stock market just went up on a logarithmic line like our property market does, right? No one would buy shares, because they'd look at it and go, well, there's no opportunity to get in at a discount, right? But there are those opportunities in the housing market. You just need to know where they are. You need to be able to forecast them. And the only way to be able to do that equitably for the entire country is to advertise how much the houses sell for. So, I don't know. These are the kind of ideas they just don't have.
Yeah, it's... For anyone watching, if you are one of the people that's considering getting in on this 5% scheme, I would advise against it. You're just signing yourself up to a 95%, debt slave position. Like it's really bad.
Well, I mean, okay, this is one of those few occasions where we probably have to put our serious hats on and say, stream of consciousness is not financial advice. So don't take what we say as financial advice. I actually take the different view. I mean, there are no indications right now that the market is going to go down. They're not going to do anything. I mean, I think what this policy is about, is addressing that intrinsic paradox. How do you make housing more affordable without affecting the value of the houses that are already there? So they get everything they want out of this policy. There will be guys out there, a not statistically insignificant number of people, who are saving for a 10% deposit, who have 5% right now, who can now rush out and get a house, right? And they're the people who in 2028 are going to be in the YouTube videos and the TikToks with our Anthony Albanese and Albo's fucking dog and whatever, saying, I love the Labor Party because I couldn't have afforded this dog box in Croydon without them. Like, that's the first reason why he's doing it. And the second reason is that for everyone else, if you're selling, well, the house price just goes up. So there's no loser. Like, that's why I keep describing this policy as just cancerous. Like, we see this so often, and it's a defining feature of liberal ideology. It's the ideology of a cancer cell. So this policy is a parasite that tricks the host into thinking it's growth when really it's killing us. I mean, it helps the first homeowner. It helps the homeowner that's about to sell. It doesn't help the country. It doesn't help anyone else. It's going to be a disaster. We're going to look back on this in years and say, well, that was a bad one.
But by that point, right, all the politicians who push it through will be gone. And this is the most cynical thing, right? You always hear that, oh, well, it's not my problem. That it's an issue further down the track. It's like, Jesus Christ, okay.
Well, this is what I find so galling about it, is because Labor keep telling us they're going to be in government for 20 years. Like, this is not the policy of people who are going to be in government for 20 years. Like, why would you do this? Anyway.
I don't know. It just it all just feels like this accelerated sort of just, the set of decline policies where it's just fucking keep stimmying everything. And it'll explode, but it won't explode under our watch. So who cares?
Yeah, it'll be someone else's problem at some point. I mean, look, there's some positive underlying things about the Australian economy. We've got some good APRA rules. We're not at risk of like the subprime mortgage kind of scenario in Australia because, well, I mean, we are, but not in the way the Americans were. Like, what I'm fascinated about the 5% thing is that the banks haven't cracked the shits. Because in the United States, let's say, I don't know, one of the weirdo progressive states, let's say California brought in a 5% deposit scheme. right? So the banks would love it because all the bad debt, like all the over-leveraged debt, they're just going to bundle up into novel REITs and they're going to put them back on the market. They're going to sell them. They're going to trade them. And it's just going to be a hot potato that they're not going to hold. And so when everything blows up, if there's an existential shock to the economy, if there's COVID-2, if there's war with China, whatever, like the banks know they're not holding the can on it, that the can is in a little piece of paper that's being held by 20 hedge funds and some gnome of Zurich is going to be up the rent, and everything's just going to get bought out by a custodial bank in the end if everything goes tits up. That's the US situation. We don't have that option here. The Australian banks are heavily restricted in how much equity in the Australian property market they can hold in the form of real estate investment trusts. So if things go badly, CommBank, NAB, ANZ, all the little dickhead mortgage brokers, they're fucked. Like it's all on them. They're the ones holding it. And so it is shocking to me that they've not said a thing about this. Like, where's the ABA on this stuff? You know, I mean, Macquarie Bank, he generally like the sensible ones in, you know, Australian banking policy. Like, why hasn't a single bank come out and said, hey, maybe this isn't a good idea because we're the ones who are going to hold the can?
A few people are saying it's probably because they're going to get they know that they'll just get a taxpayer bailout if it all implodes.
Well, no, I mean, this is the difference between the Australian and the US systems, right? So deposits are guaranteed in Australia. When we talk about the US bailout, they weren't bailing out those individual banks. When they said the banking institutions were too big to fail, what they meant was the custodial banks who ultimately held the debt. So, yeah, I mean, Lehman Brothers, well, not Lehman, but like JP Mellon, State Street, I think Deutsche is one. But yeah, the custodial banks like were bailed out. But we do not have a custodial bank in Australia. In fact, I think State Street might be the custodial bank for all Australian banking institutions off the top of my head. If we've got any Finbros in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. So State Street is so big that it can't fail in Australia. Like, so no matter how bad the Australian property market gets, it's great news for State Street because they'll just take all the bad properties. They'll just take them all and they'll just sit on it and they'll amalgamate them, which is what happened in some US states after the GFC. I mean, this is how BlackRock and Blackstone got so big, was because they were holding all these bad debts, and instead of selling them for a song like they did in Detroit, they amalgamated blocks, they redeveloped them, they built wage cages, and then they did build to rent schemes. And so then they just grew their own wealth, right? So, yeah, there's not going to be a bailout. I mean, this is an existential risk for the big four in Australia that, you know, you're not trapped in, I mean, we're trapped in, not trapped in here with them, they're trapped in with us on the property market. It's like the old adage, you know, if you owe the bank $1 million and you can't afford to pay, you're fucked. But if you owe the bank $20 billion and you can't afford to pay, the bank is fucked. Yeah. And yeah, I don't think anyone's really thought about that at all. Certainly, I mean, if they have, maybe they've been doing deals behind closed doors and they said to the banks, no, don't worry, everything will be fine. But I wouldn't trust them. You can't trust these guys. So, yeah. Adam just said the sooner AI removes the need for real estate agents, the better. They are the worst. I mean, real estate agents are the middleman you need to cut out to fix the property market.
A lot of this.
I mean, they're the biggest impediment to us actually having a healthy market. They're the ones obfuscating the prices. They're artificially inflating the prices. They are the ones jacking up the fees. And on rent, I mean, it's the rental, the rental regulations which they lobby for are the chief reason why we have no risk in the market. And when you have a market with zero risk, that's not a market. Like, that is just a line that goes up forever. And, you know, like someone said before, I think it was Matthew Clark pointed out before, you know, no one wants their house prices to go down, but also no one thinks that they're vulnerable to existential risk at all. Like, everyone thinks like, I'll be fine. And that's kind of how you leverage it. To make sure things don't go tits up. Giovanni just said one of us to talk louder or me to talk softer. I think it's because I like lean into my microphone for comedic effect too much. So I'm going to stop doing that. Yeah. I'm doing like ASMR.
Oh, right. Can you guys hear me all right? I mean, I assume so. I don't know. We'll see. There's always some kind of tech issues. It's, I mean, yeah. The problem with the solution is politically, it just seems like it'll never happen until something just explodes. And you know, we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but when I saw the policy first, you know, get thought up, then implemented, it just as a proto boomer, I just started shaking my head, being like, oh god, you're going to regret this in 10, 20 years.
Yeah,
but I don't know, like,
absolutely.
Yeah, how do you solve it? It's one of these things where I don't know where the fix is. And if you know, if you sorry, you go.
You could not have so many people. That's why.
Right, yeah. Right.
What if we had a smaller population? Maybe that would work.
I'd love to see like a big, you know, like housing summit where like everyone's going around the table about like, you know, different ways that we can, you know, help people, you know, secure their home loans and all this kind of stuff, and then someone just putting out their hand being like, what if? Just what if?
Crazy idea.
Stop bringing in complete strangers.
Yeah, just letting them compete for property. Like, what if we did that? You know.
Oh, mate, don't talk too much about that. The E-Karen will come after
you. E-Karen will come after us. Yeah, well, we're going to get to E-Karen because, I mean, she's been doing some crazy stuff this week with, God, I can't pronounce her name. The poor Ukrainian girl who was stabbed on that bus. Or Irina, yeah. Yeah, and she's banning people from being able to see the videos, which is
she's
insane.
She's also issuing takedown notices for people who are outside of Australia for the content to not appear. And for background, about a year ago, when I fronted up to the misinformation inquiry, one of the things that we flagged was the ability for the E-Karen to do this, and that entire argument was kind of pushed back against, and a few people were saying, oh, no, it only applies to people within Australia. It wouldn't, you know, you would not end up in a scenario where the e-safety office is actually going out to X and saying, this person based, you know, domiciled in America who's posting on an American platform, the content's appearing in Australia, so therefore it has to be taken down. Well, here we are.
That's exactly what she did.
Later,
that's what she.
Yeah, a year later, and that's what she's doing. And you know, my response and George Christensen's response was, okay, well, let's just post the content that she doesn't want up there ourselves, because my understanding is that as Australian citizens, we have a right of appeal that some of these foreign account holders don't. So for anyone watching, find the Irina video, just post it. I'm sure the e-safety office will probably try and get your content taken down, but you've actually got an appeals process that you can go through to have that content stated.
Rowan, I can't. Yeah, Rowan, I can't believe you even asked that. Why would you? That's such an obvious question. Yeah, why?
Serious hat removed, back to
serious hat off. Yeah, it's. I mean, Abby Chatfield, obviously. I mean, E-Karen's, I think, my mum's age, and Clementine Ford's my age, and I haven't dated a woman under over 27 in like 20 years. So yeah, no, it's Abby Chatfield every time. But no, back to serious hat back on. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The only way around this stuff is to keep posting it. Like, what I can't believe is that, you know, she's pulling this video down, and look, the video is disturbing. And you know, for people who know me personally, like I don't like that stuff. I get funny about it. I don't like watching people die and shit. But you know, I think it was viscerally important to see that video. Like,
it was a perfect, you know, visualization of sort of what the ultimate outcome of, like, you know, uber tolerance and liberalism, and you know, multicultural diversity crap gets you, right? It gets you
stabbed at the back of a bus, you know.
Yeah.
In the most horrible way, like in the most, and while the others just stand around and watch, and you know, no one renders aid until the blood runs down to the front of the bus to the one person out of 20 who had the agency and initiative to help you. Like it was insane that the thing even happened. And what grinds my gears the most is that E. Karen's out there saying, "Oh no, it's so violent, like people can't see it." Ever since that Antoinette LeBouf shit happened with the ABC, and the ABC have massively been overcorrecting their Israel coverage because they realized their tote bag Teachers Federation audience all pro-Palestine. When you turn on the ABC News at 7 o'clock at night, it is just wall-to-wall dead Palestinian babies, right? So how can you tell me that I can turn on my own national broadcaster every single night and I can just see nothing but the violent deaths of Palestinians? I can see babies starving to death with distended bellies in war zones, and that's fine. But I can't see a white woman get stabbed to death by a black man on a bus in the United States who should never have been there in the first place because he'd been constantly released by an adequate justice system, and I could watch her die alone while the people next to her did nothing. That's insane that I can watch one, but I can't watch the other, and that we have a completely unelected official, an American, by the way.
Yeah, an American
who openly admits to having been recruited by the CIA at one point. Can we just, I don't want to put I've got the serious hat and the tinfoil hat. I'm not going to put the tinfoil hat on, but it's an actual thing. She openly admits to having been recruited by the CIA. And she says she didn't join, but I think you make of that what you will. But yeah, how's she the one that decides which horror we should see, right? I mean, you either see all of it or you see none of it, right? And, I've got my views on the Levantine Troubles. Like, I don't support either side particularly, but I think you should see what the Israelis are doing. It makes me angry when I see, the level of barbarism and savagery that our supposed allies and, the last bastion of the West in the Levantine are meting out to, who are, let's be real, ethnically their own people. I don't see there being a single difference between an Israeli Jew and a Palestinian Arab. They're all just an ungovernable rabble that Mark Antony should have put to the sword 2,000 years ago. But I digress. Why should we see one but not the other? And why does she decide that? And this is what no one is asking. This is what no one seems to care about, is that, the reason she doesn't want us seeing it is for the same reason that absolute turd Jason Wilson, who I posted today, when he did that podcast, is there saying, "Oh yeah, the alleged stabbing." Like, what do you mean alleged?
What do you mean alleged? It's on video.
It's on video. She gets stabbed multiple times in the neck. You moron!
Like the defense team for the guy who did it is he didn't do it.
The alleged attack on 9/11 by Osama bin Laden, who we think maybe did it.
It's madness, man. And I wonder what is the driving force that makes the eSafety office go, okay, this is the content that gets taken down. And it always curiously seems to line up with whatever content is going to fuel anger amongst anyone in the center right.
Everyone from the center to the right. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It's weird, exactly. That, isn't it? Yeah, but she won't. The content that is making, my mum, who has like the most nuanced political views of anyone I know, she's one of the smartest women I know. She's been given Israel the benefit of the doubt for years, but she watched the ABC enough times that she's gone, I think these guys should maybe cool it with the baby killing, right? She's kind of indicative of that cohort. So why can't our people see it, but tote bag people can see as many starving Palestinian babies as it takes for them to go marching every weekend? That's weird, right? It's almost like they want that to happen.
Yeah, it's almost like the unelected bureaucracy is acting with political interest. And the frustrating thing you go, mate, go.
Well, just to be absolutely clear, so the E. Karen was appointed by Scott Morrison. And she is using powers. What I was about to say. She's using powers that were drafted by Scott Morrison. So, if you wanted TLD evidence, I mean, there you go.
Well, this is the thing. Like, I see a lot of crocodile tears from some of these establishment conservatives going, "Oh, the E-Karen's awful and she's gone too far." It's like, you were an elected representative when the government that you worked for created this office. So I don't want to hear it. Like,
Bruce of Heem, no, I don't have any insight into the Liberal Party mind when, I wasn't around them at all. I mean, I think it was, Brian, you'd know, because you did the inquiry. Was it 2020 they did it?
It was actually 2019 when it was first thought up.
2019, yeah. So it was kicking around during the 2019 election campaign. Actually, Bruce, serious hat off. I'll tell you a funny story about my only involvement at a policy level with the e-safety commissioner. Was one day we were kicking around the the campaign office in the 2019 election campaign, and it was a core election policy in 2019, and mostly because we needed to give Greg Hunt something to talk about and to get him out of the office, because Greg Hunt was being Greg Hunt. And Greg Hunt was like super passionate about banning all this anime. He was like obsessed with it. He would like talk to people about it and say, "Hey, do you know that the Japanese sell all these cartoons here where like young girls are scantily clad?" And he wanted them banned. Like, he wanted to go do this pogrom on anime in the middle of the campaign. And I was the only guy in the office, I think, who had an objection to this. And so that was kind of, that was kind of how we would preoccupy Greg, was that whenever he would get on his like anime obsession, we say, "Well, we've got the e-safety commissioner for that. Like, we can, whatever your concerns are about Japanese cartoons, just we'll talk to the e-safety commissioner about it later." So maybe in a small way, I did help enable the e-safety commissioner, because probably Greg Hunt gave her all these powers so she could crack down on hentai or something.
Well, but this is the thing, right? Like, it was originally thought up to. I remember ScoMo plugging it as like it was to crack down on like bullying, right? And like online.
Oh, it was to crack down on porn. It was to crack down on like the. I don't want to say where they're from. I mean, there's a company in Israel. They're called MindGeek. You might have heard of them. They own a lot of websites. It was that stuff. I mean, because it's 2019, right? And like a lot of guys inside the Liberals were pretty red-pilled at the time, and people were talking about this stuff. And so when the e-safety commission, I don't remember there being any criticism internally during my only knowledge of it was from the actual campaign.
Yeah, the only criticism was from guys who have either got pushed out or are kind of on the outer anyway, right? Like,
like weird libertarian guys, and no one, and like when you're trying to like crack down on pornography, and weird libertarian guys are talking about, you never listen to them. It's like, exactly. Their fruity ideas on age of consent or something that are bubbling below the surface. I love you guys. If you're libertarians who are watching, I still love you. But you got some guys with some funny views.
You got some weird dudes.
Yeah, you got some fruity guys.
But I just, all the perverse outcomes that people warned about came to fruition, right? And the thing about the E-Karen is she's either been a spook, or as you said, she alleges that she
or
never
some spook
joined.
adjacent,
Well, spook adjacent, right? Like, she's heavily tied to people like Nina Jankowicz, who were in the Biden administration and responsible for sort of cracking down on misinformation and disinformation, all the sort of stuff that was used to engage in political activism to try and shut down the Trump momentum.
Yeah,
and you bring it over here, set up a department in a country that doesn't have First Amendment protections, and this is the outcome. Like, all the stuff that I was told wasn't going to happen is now happening, and it's only going to get worse. So when it comes to things you can do right now, there's not a huge amount, but what you can do, and David Dean was in the comments before, he was pointing this out, is you can just post the content that they don't want up, because as an Australian, you've got access to a better appeals process than a foreign poster. So if the E-Karen's issuing takedown notices of videos showing the slaughter of innocent women on buses, post the content, get her to issue takedown notice of you, and then challenge it. That's what I'm going to do if she issues a takedown notice.
I mean, I don't know if it's cope, but I just kind of live in hope that Elon goes kind of right in to save us, maybe in December. I don't know. I mean, maybe he won't though, because I think that the amount of money Elon is paying out every month to Drew Pavlu in Australian dollars, in Pacific pesos, is now so much that if you said to him, well, we can shut down Australian X and you won't have to pay Drew Pavlu anymore, he may go for it. Like, I'm worried about that.
I mean, I put up a post the other day, which is like, part of the solution could be that X just completely ignores all of the edicts from the E-Karen's office, makes them issue fines, and doesn't pay them, because then you drag the Australian government into having to explain to the Trump administration why we're trying to issue fines that go against their entire ideals around free speech. I don't know how it would play out, but
there's a really elegant solution
power,
on X. Yeah, there's a really elegant solution on X, which I think I've talked about online before, which is X and Substack, I think, are the only social media companies that have my ID. And the reason they have my ID is because I monetized, right? So you have that incentivization to provide your ID. Well, because they send me they gave me $1,000 last month from X. So when you've got that incentive, more people are going to do it. Now, the barrier for entry for monetization on X is 500 verified followers. Now, all Elon would have to do is loosen that, and everyone would just go, fuck it, well, I'll just monetize and I'll just give them my ID. I mean, I think without verified followers, you might only get like $5 a month, but it's free. Someone's going to pay you $5 a month for your ID, right? And I trust X with my ID more than I trust the Australian federal government. Like, if we're going to be real, I'd rather give my ID to Elon Musk than to E-Karen. Yeah, exactly. So maybe they do something like that. I mean, I've heard gossip from the tech community, not here in Tasmania. There is no tech community in Tasmania, but certainly from I visited the mainland recently, guys have been saying they get the feeling the companies are going to deliberately throw it, that they're going to make the implementation so bad there will be backlash. Like, I mean, and the big actor there is Google, right? Yep. Because everyone forgets. I mean, it's one thing to have to show your ID to Meta across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger. It's one thing to give your ID to X, which is one app. It's one thing to give your ID to TikTok, which no one is going to fucking do. TikTok will die here afterwards. But the Google ecosystem is really interesting, because like, if you're watching this right now on a Chrome browser, and if you look up on the right-hand side of your screen and you can see your initials up there, like, that's a login. You are going to have to verify your ID with your Google account across all your devices. If you're using an Android, if you're using Chrome on your desktop, you're going to have to ID verify across everything. We've got no clarity on how this is going to work with Microsoft Edge. Microsoft are just keeping a low profile on the whole thing, right? So are you going to have to verify with Edge? Which is going to mean you have to verify when you log into a Windows machine, right? And this is going to cause merry hell. Like, my parents lose their minds just when, there's a change to terms and conditions on websites, right? Imagine on December 10, millions of boomers waking up to their favorite apps. They can't watch their fishing shows or whatever unless they show their ID. It's going to be crazy. Farky says Brave browser for the win. The problem is, that solves the Chrome issue. It doesn't solve the issue across all your Google devices, and it's not going to solve the issue on Android phones, right? So, and Apple, I mean,
Farky was saying earlier, he said, in relation to the E-Karen, so he said, why aren't lefties chimping out about this? They won't be able to cry about Palestine online anymore. Mate, the reason is because the E-Safety Office is acting in their interests, and the left play to win, right? So they whilst institutional power is dwindling, they still have it right now. So why would they chimp out about an institution affecting power in the direction that they want? Well, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's why. And they play to win, and the normie right don't. So that's effectively.
Well, I mean, the normie right in this country. So everyone from the Liberals to, in a big way, like One Nation, have actually been backing this stuff from day one. They've been backing the age restrictions, which is insane. Look, when it was announced, I thought there was a good chance the tech companies might cut us loose. But I think they're going to go to the mattresses on this because liquidity in technology has changed immensely just in the last 12 months, right? In the same way that it changed massively from, the days of guys pumping up valuations to get VC money, to pay massive wages and to increase share prices, to monetization through advertising, which is the era we're exiting. Like advertising monetization means nothing to these people anymore compared to the value of the content we create. That is you, me, everyone in the chat, every post you do on Facebook and X, the value for training data for AI. Right. And advertising monetization was always a stopgap for these guys. I mean, they created these platforms in the case of Facebook, and I think X was launched in when it was Twitter, I think it was launched in like 2008. They created these apps to do this kind of like niche thing, and they didn't really know how they were going to make money out of it, apart from the fact that VCs were giving them money to do it. And so they kind of patched together the advertising regime so that when the VC money ran out, when the share prices started wiggling, they could say to the investors, hey, these things can make money. And that's got them through the last decade. But now how you make money out of social media has finally been revealed. The final boss of social media is artificial intelligence. And you make money from making content, right? And 15-year-olds make content, and the training data is valuable because the AIs don't care if you're 15 or 115. It's all novel and salient content. They just want more. They want more tokenization or more training data. So if you're a social media company 12 months ago, you might have been saying, yeah, we're going to afford to lose the Australian teen advertising market. I think I did an analysis of it this time last year when this stuff was first kicking around, and out of it's not even that much money. It's like $5 billion gross advertising revenue. And, it's like $1 billion you probably forgot, like less than $1 billion from kids. Like it's not that much money in the grand scheme of things for a tech company. But today, if you go on, there's a startup, and I'm not plugging these guys, and I'm not saying you should sign up to them, but at least have a look at it because it's a good indication of what the future looks like. It's a startup called Cled AI that launched recently, and their business model is they pay you for all your content. So they will monetize your photo reel. Right, like 9,000 photos on a girl's photo reel from one night out, and they'll give you $100. And it's all about accessing new training data. When you look at their business model and how much this stuff is worth, there's kind of a race right now to determine the actual market for training data for AIs. And when you think of it that way, then they're not going to let this slide. They're not going to sit there and lose access to, the group chats, the discords, the dumb videos kids make on YouTube that I assume are the problem. All their interactions online, which you can feed into an AI. They're not going to lose that. So yeah, I think they are going to go to the mattresses on it at some point.
Yeah, okay.
Scotty Thompson says, I'll fry a 40-90 each week to ask for the top 10 footy stories. The Scotty Tompkins is a really good guy. He runs a great podcast about Carlton, which I was lucky enough to go on during the election campaign. So check those guys out if you're an AFL guy. I'm not sure if they're going to keep going in off season, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. We don't really talk about sport in the show that much.
No, we don't.
People are going to think we're nerds. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to commit sacrilege. I actually didn't watch the grand final, but it's it was the Broncos versus Panthers. I just I didn't care.
I didn't care about the Panthers. Panthers have always just been a nothing team. I was shocked that they were even in the finals. So I was going for the Broncos. Yeah, it's funny watching it down in Tasmania because literally no one cares about it in Tasmania. No one watches the NRL here at all. Yeah. What else do we have on the ledger for tonight?
Let me just go back to the list. So we've got well, we had the E-Current crackdowns. We were going to hopefully have a special guest tonight, but he actually couldn't make it, which is okay. So we'll just keep bantering away. I might just go through some of the comments, which is down.
Yeah. We'll throw it open to the floor if anyone's got questions. I saw some guys asking questions before. Some of them just seemed like bait about whenever I see someone saying Selena and Mischling in a sentence, I get kind of. I think maybe that's not.
Someone was asking. I think she started to endorse Total Liberal Death, which seemed like an interesting development. I actually haven't seen it. So is she out there, pushing the TLD line now?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of her Substacks have definitely been indicative of that. I don't think there was any question that Selena. I mean, there's never been a question that Selena was some kind of liberal shill. I mean, the question's always that I'm a liberal shill. Like, it doesn't matter how many times I say liberal death. Like, there'll be someone in the chat or on Telegram or one of those guys with the funny necks on Nathan Sykes's Substack saying that I'm a liberal shill.
I mean, even to our own viewers, like it's almost like sometimes like our own shadows are containment. It's just like so you can never escape the accusation.
Yeah, we're all containment all the time. Yeah, no matter how little money we ask for, we're still containment.
Bruce is saying she never shielded it but avoided it consistently. I mean, I don't know. Look, I haven't seen any of it, but not everyone has to talk about every single talking point.
Some of it's just boring. Like, I mean, I'm guilty of that too. It's just you guys don't notice it. Like, I find a lot of like conservative culture war talking points like incredibly boring. I never talk about trans shit. Like, I never get into that at all, just because I find it fundamentally uninteresting. Right? It doesn't mean I'm a shill for big trans. Like, I don't. I'm not out there like investing in HRT companies. Well, that's not a bad idea, but. Sometimes you just don't talk about things because they're not particular. They don't really set your world on fire, right? Like
someone's saying that it was actually Broncos versus Storm. Just a clarifying point on that: Melbourne Storm should not exist as a football club. In fact, I don't.
Are you sure? Are you sure it was Melbourne?
Yeah. In fact, I actually don't think that Victoria should be allowed to be in the NRL at all.
I could have swore it was Penrith. That's how drunk I was.
No, it was Penrith in the semis. Right, so
John's
got knocked out a little bit earlier. John is but yeah, no, Melbourne Storm should not exist. Victoria should not be allowed in the NRL at all. More than happy for them to be in AFL, but just no. The NRL is a New South Wales, Queensland thing, and I guess we can have the Canberra Raiders, but even
if I'd have won the seat in Tasmania, which let's face it was never going to happen, I was going to campaign for an NRL team. That's a good play.
Well, I mean, I'm a perennial loser on this anyway because like I go for the Newcastle Knights, right? So it's like I'm that boomer going around being like, I remember the '97 grand final. It's like, it's literally almost 30 years ago, and it's just
Rob Dobalina says that the transvestigations have begun. That's actually a good point. We haven't been doing that in the Australian right. We haven't been doing transvestigations. All right, new stream of consciousness meme. Let's find a transvestigation to do on the right this week.
Okay, all right. We're gonna do, that's it for the next stream of consciousness. We're gonna do a transvestigation expose. So you don't really follow NRL. So I think you're more of an AFL guy. So how would I?
Well, I am now. I used to when I was in Sydney. I used to be a big Roosters guy.
The Knights would be like the Melbourne Kangaroos. So it's kind of like they like North Melbourne Kangaroos. So it's kind of like North Melbourne will play like a really good team and somehow win, and then the next week they'll play like their own shadow and lose by 80 points. The Knights sometimes do that as well, right? So the Knights will play like the Panthers in a random match, somehow win or get close to winning, and then they'll play like a dead octogenarian the next week and lose by, 20 points.
Do you want to know something really funny? Is that this last like 2 or 3 minutes of talking about football is our single biggest ever viewership dip we've ever got. Like,
well, there you go. We're never going to touch it again.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show what massive nerds everyone on Stream of Consciousness is. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Yeah, Brian and I just say trying to be cool. We were about to talk about all our girlfriends next. Now we know you don't want to go there at all. Someone asked an interesting question before. It was Green Goblin, John Bryan. How would you beat the Teals whilst they cosplay as community-appointed leaders? Dude, this is a really interesting question. Like, just, I mean, broadly, how do you beat the Teals? Because it's not just an existential question for the Liberals. It's only an existential question for the Liberals because that's where the Teals keep running. But that's more a limiting factor on how much money they have. I mean, they could run anywhere. And we saw this in New South Wales down in Wallandilly. Wallandilly is a really conservative seat. It was held by a really fantastic Conservative MP, good mate of mine called Nat Smith. He lost that seat to a Teal in 2022? And she was like a legit Teal. She was funded by Simon Holmes Court. She went down there and burned him. So it is actually a real problem, like a serious problem, because they could conservatively run anyway. Like, you know, let's say, you know, we get some kind of, you know, new right political project off the ground. And I mean, Cos has been posting, I think, the 7 seats where he thought hard right candidates could win. You know, let's say we win all of them. And we have 3 years. We're going to talk about all the things we want to talk about. Maybe we get some action on some stuff. Then in 3 years, it might not be Simon because he really only cares about renewable speculation. But let's say someone runs that business model with some, you know, tote bag doctor's wife and pulls that. It's a question you got to think about. Like how do you nullify these people? And I don't have an immediate answer to it because, you know, they are running very good campaigns. Like if you're being objective and if you're not, don't just hate them because, you know, they're dumb lefties, like they actually run extremely good campaigns. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that one? Because you've probably tangoed with them more than I have.
Yeah, I think one of the things is at a cultural level, people need to stop taking them so seriously. And what I mean by that is the Libs try and combat them, right? And they call them like, oh, they're the climate crazies and all this kind of stuff. And they give them a sense of power that they don't actually have, right? They're just kind of a protest vote amongst wine mums in uppity chode suburbs. And the moment that you actually
showed suburbs, that's good. I'm writing that one down.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, if you think about uppity chodes and where they live, it's in Teal electorates, and I think that the best way through these people is really just through mockery and not taking them seriously. Like, what? Why do I need to give why do I need to care about what Allegra Spender says or thinks? Right? Like she's completely irrelevant. She represents a cohort that doesn't actually matter. And okay, she's elected, and you know some cucklib missed out on their seat. I think that the best way is through mockery and not taking it seriously. Move around them, and eventually they will lose their cultural significance if more and more people do that. So I've fallen into the trap before where you know you attack the Teals on XYZ. It just actually puts them up on a pedestal when really they're kind of irrelevant and they're just there to protect the financial interests of the people that back them, really. So don't give them unnecessary weight.
It raises an interesting question, which was it kind of came and went in the news last week, and I haven't seen a lot of good analysis on it, is this whole Anthony Albanese wanting to increase the number of seats thing. Have you seen this?
No.
So it was being mooted. I saw it mooted. I didn't see it mooted, but I think I heard gossip about it being mooted before the last election that Albanese wants to increase the number of seats because they've done the numbers and they believe that the more seats there are, you start splitting these, you know, ghettos into smaller little hubs of, you know, Star Wars people, then you're going to end up improving progressive votes, right?
Yeah, okay, I do remember this.
Yeah, so this was doing the rounds this week. I mean, this is one of the threats, I think, for Conservatives just generally, because if you do end up atomizing the metropolitan areas, you're going to get a nationwide gerrymander. of more Teals and just more Labor MPs of a Teal character, and more like, I mean, I don't even know her name, but who was it who was sledging Hastie today in Liberal Party room? Like no one had ever heard of her, and she had like a haircut like
I've been around party politics
the Maurice.
She
looked like if Maurice Payne was a Lego man. That's what she looked
like. I've been around the traps for a while, and I saw the media today, and I literally was sitting there going, "Did they get that name right, or is that like?
Yeah, is that someone like where
they come from? Yeah. And like not an elected representative? Turns out, like it was like, oh yeah, and
no one had heard of it. Like,
yeah.
Some of you guys, I know some of the guys in the chat are Liberal guys, so like just DM one of us if you do know who she is and know her background.
Someone Alfred or something like that. Like
someone Alfred. I thought it was something. Ali
like Bev
or
MacArthur or
something.
Like
Bev, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like
it literally sounded like, when you hear a GR guy talk about like a staffer that they spoke to. And I was like, oh, who was it? Oh, John or Jeff or Gary or
when I worked there, we used to have this running joke about like any staffer whose name we didn't know. His name was Matthew Macquarie Menzies, Triple M. And so whenever you'd see like one of those guys who looks like a staffer out of Central Casting, you'd say, there he is, Triple M, Matthew Macquarie Menzies. Because they all had names like that, like double-barreled names. Their parents had named them Menzies or Howard or something like that. She looked like she was some kind of like young Liberal who'd just stumbled in there. And by young Liberal, she's probably 40. Mary Aldred.
Again. So I saw Mary Aldred, and it sounded completely made up. I thought that they got the name wrong, and then I googled it.
Yeah.
Turns out she replaced Russell Broadbent.
Isn't she on Downton Abbey? Like, where's Enoch? Enoch's meant to be like our Joel
Enoch's
from Joe Rogan.
Enoch's dying with it sounds like he's got Wu flu or something. He sounds pretty bad. Alex McEnroe is saying Labor looked at expanding Parliament ahead of the last election. Don Farrell in charge of inquiry quietly dropped. What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, but they resurrected it. They resurrected it in the papers this week. I think there's something there. I think it's the kind of thing Labor would do and Labor have done this kind of stuff before when they get arrogant. And to be fair to them, Labor have every reason to be arrogant right now. Like the Liberals don't look like they're going to be a threat for at least a generation. Like a full Cos Samaras generation. They have 85 years before the Liberals are a threat again. So
they're just like, why don't we just pick a couple of
why don't we just fuck everyone? Yeah, and just make everything worse so that when someone from the right does get in, it's going to be Trump style. We're going to send the National Guard to Victoria and
we're seeing more
illegals are going in puppy dog cages.
There was that leaked ministerial letter, requesting for more citizenships to be processed as quickly as possible. AAP fact check went out there and said, actually there's an additional 1,800 migrants coming in every 48 hours.
And it was AFP fact check, that was unreal that they just did that. Like, what's going on?
The fact check was like, it's worse than you think.
when even AFP fact check is backing it in, there's a problem. And what about, because they've loosened up international student restrictions on Indians again, which is crazy. Like, come on, guys.
But
seriously,
but this is the thing.
It just feels like ritual humiliation at this point.
It feels like I keep bringing it back to what's happening over in Britain. But when Blair was elected, one of the main things he wanted to do was rub the right's nose in diversity. I think is the direct quote.
Yeah.
And it feels like the Labor Party is doing this here now, right? Like it doesn't matter what the population wants. It doesn't matter what the polling shows. It doesn't matter how people vote. They're going to rub your face in it. In fact, whatever numbers you think are happening, it turns out even AAP fact checks willing to say, it's much, however bad you think it is, it's worse.
It's worse. But it ended up biting Labor in the UK in the arse massively, right? Because they rubbed everyone's nose in diversity, and then the diversity got into their branches, and it started at a local government level. And pretty soon you had mullahs running little tiny parishes and putting no bikinis at the swimming pool signs and running the call to prayer everywhere. And it was Labor voters who were losing out. So, I think Labor's strategy here is look, in the UK, they have this kind of it's a significantly different issue because it is centrally around Islamic immigration that is the driving force behind this kind of cultural incompatibility. In Australia, it is not. And, in Australia, we have half of the Morrison wave is Chinese, the other half is Indian. The Chinese aren't really politically relevant. That was one of the most interesting things that Koz said on that stream I did with Drew Pavlu. Everyone gravitated towards the 85% Indians voting Labor comment, but everyone just kind of ignored the fact that he said that Chinese immigrants aren't enrolling to vote. I thought that was fascinating, because frankly, that's a good outcome. I think if you can bring in it's probably I think if you look on the 2023 numbers, you're looking at between 500,000 Chinese immigrants. And if half of them don't enroll to vote and they don't want to get involved in the political process, good. That's not bad. If it was up to me, they wouldn't be allowed to. But so if they're voluntarily not getting engaged. It's an interesting
dynamic because it goes against the Civnat argument, which is that once they come here and touch the magic dirt, that they all become classical liberals and
which is horseshit, which we know is horseshit, which they always knew was horseshit.
So the fact that they're coming here and just not engaging completely flies in the face of that entire argument.
Yeah,
but
also it's kind of like
if you more of that, please.
But if you absolutely need warm bodies to come in, and I don't believe I don't believe the labour crisis is really as bad as anyone's making it out to be. If you look at the financials in Australia, the old bromide of the left on immigration is, but you need people to wipe asses and clean bedpans and whatever. Okay, well, let's actually look at who employs those people. Some of the biggest, most profitable companies in the country, which are involved in aged care, the NDIS, right? And they're the ones who are benefiting from this cheap labor, whether it be Indian, Chinese, Nepalese, Filipino, whatever. They're the ones benefiting. They can afford to take a wages haircut by paying more, right? They can afford it. So we do. It is slightly a different issue here when you think about the makeup of the actual immigrants coming in. If you have a cohort which are willing to come in and do that, and they're not going to vote, and they're not going to get involved in the economy at all beyond, there are issues around Chinese migrants buying houses or whatever. That's a good thing. This is how Saudi Arabia and Brunei and UAE, this is how they run their immigration regimes, through guest workers, right? Guest workers is a fantastic concept if you need labor for something that your own people won't do. If you have a country like Saudi Arabia, where all your own population are Emiratis living off the public teeth, and you can't find anyone to clamber up a bamboo scaffold and build the latest, edifice to your king's glory, then you bring in guest workers from Indonesia and Bangladesh, and they do it, and then they get a pile of money and they go home. I'm a huge supporter of the Pacific Island. The system we had before, we're now letting them all come in because of climate change, which is insane. If your country gets one wave above the waterline, then suddenly all your people can come here. But how we were doing it, where we were saying, and it was guys from Tonga who were taking advantage of it. They come out, they do 7 or 8 years here, they work, and then they leave. They're never allowed to come back, but they cash out their superannuation when they go. So the government pays them the 12% superannuation contribution. They maybe rack up $40K in a bank account. They leave the country. We give them a check for $40,000. They go back to the village. They live like kings, right? Everyone wins. We get labor for a few years. We don't get any cultural contamination. They don't have any of the problems with integrating because they're a guest worker and they're looking forward to going home. That's a great system. And you know what? Now we are eroding that system because we're saying that, well, actually, hey, if your beach is being eroded, you can just come here. So we got to end that. That's a bad.
I remember the argument I used to hear was, a lot of these people do the jobs that Australians won't do. And it's well, hang on. I remember a time where Australians did do that job. I remember when taxi drivers were Australian. Are you trying to tell me that Australian cabbies all woke up one day and said, actually, I hate driving a Ford Falcon around?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's what happened.
It's just wages. And I mean, a great example of it is, and I've used this example a lot, but like if you go, I mean, look at the tradies in Australia, right? Being a tradie in Australia is a highly paid, high prestige job. No bloke who wears high vis and swings a hammer for a living is ashamed of saying he does it. We are one of the only countries where that's the case. Why is that the case? Protectionism. You know, until very recently, we were not bringing in workers on visas to swing hammers, right? And as a result, wages went up. We have some of the most highly paid tradies in the world. And they bought McMansions, they bought Ford Rangers. They're an economic cohort unto themselves, and we're actually seeing the long-term effects of it at the moment as they get older and their ideology shifts, right? We were able to do that through protectionism. This is what shits me about the left on industrial relations and on the interplay between industrial relations and immigration. You know, the most powerful left-wing unions are the services unions, right? USU, HSU, right? The lowest paid workers who clean bedpans, who shovel shit, who change nappies, right? These are the lowest paid workers in our community, and they are disproportionately migrants. Their unions are constantly going to protests and standing up in front of crowds and saying, oh, we're the lowest paid workers. Don't you want your workers to be highly paid, more highly paid? If you want your workers to be more highly paid, cut the tap of immigration. Because then the little Nepalese ladies who clean my house are going to have to be paid double, right? And people will pay it. We'll have little Nepalese ladies who've been living out here on permanent residencies for the last 5 or 6 years. They'll be like tradies were in the late 90s. They'll be buying McMansions. You'll have little Nepalese women driving around in Ford Rangers. Like, that's what you can have if you cut immigration. Like, but they don't see this because they're completely disingenuous about it.
Yeah, they're disingenuous, and their entire their entire agenda is destruction, right? They don't actually represent the interests of the people that they're meant to. They're just a political activist organization that's there to take out their political.
Just wants more diversity all the time, no matter how damaging it is. You know, like I don't mean to talk about. I mean, I know she's like a reasonably verboten topic, but I mean, I watched Abby Chatfield's full 6-minute opus today that she put up about the haters and the trolls that are making Abby's life miserable. And if you're in the chat and you're one of these people who goes onto Abby's TikToks and swings abuse at her, just know, stream of consciousness, we do not approve of this, that I am pro Abby. But I mean, the funny thing, I went on all her channels afterwards because I'm writing a Substack about Abby this week. And so I went in to see what is being said about her. Like, I mean, we all know the telltale signs when a poster is not, shall we say, a heritage Australian, right? Like, there are certain telltale signs in content. And it's abundantly clear that the people who are going on to Abby's, particularly on her TikTok channel, and posting the abuse, like, they're not white guys. They're absolutely not white guys. And so there's going to have to be this tipping point for a certain cohort of the left where they realize, oh shit, what have we done? Like all the Handmaid's Tale fantasies that they have. It's not going to be white guys holding the leash, right? It's going to be the people they've brought in who are doing it. Yeah.
But when you bring that up to them, it's like their eyes glaze over. It just
I know those can't grasp it, right? It's not going to be until it's right in their face, and like it's crazy. I mean, it's almost pointless to even mention it because if you look at what's happening in the UK now, it doesn't matter how bad it gets, they won't realize.
You get what I mean? I saw this with J.K. Rowling, right? Like J.K. Rowling put up some relatively base thing about against the chick who played Hermione. I forget her name.
I don't know what I mean.
I forget what her name is. Anyway, she put up this base thread against Hermione, right? And part of it, she was talking about, real women facing the prospects of walking into, bathrooms with transgender blokes and all that kind of stuff, and how scary that was, and like the overrepresentation of sexual assaults in the transgender community. Well, a bunch of right-wing guys were saying, well, hang on, you still support the open borders experiment that is bringing in people who overrepresent in sexual assaults amongst British women. And even then, she just completely shut down and was like, oh, you guys are trolls. It's like, well, I mean, this is a real issue. And
it's a real issue, man.
They just completely glaze over. And I think you're right. No matter how bad it gets, it's like you're telling them that their baby is ugly. They just cannot handle it.
They can't fathom it. And look, maybe it's on us too. Like, if you're self-reflective, I mean, I think maybe, we've been in the wilderness for so long on this stuff, like collectively as the right, or not necessarily the new right, but the dissident right, the radical right, whatever you want to call it. We have been on the wilderness for so long. We've been screaming into the void on this stuff that maybe we haven't really thought about how to effectively communicate it to these people. And we've never really thought about, like, who could potential allies be and try to engage them. And it is something we have to think about at some point in the future. I mean, the Americans didn't have to think about it because Trump won, right? And Trump won in 2016 and he won recently. And even when he didn't win, at least you could still see a roadmap for winning without having to flip voters that weren't like Hispanic and black. Right. Like, if we're going to be ruthlessly honest with how Trump won, like, that's how he won. And that's not going to happen here. We don't have cohorts like that. So we have to be, Ben just posted. Ben's a really good friend of mine. I actually went to school with Ben as a kid. And him and I have discussed this before. Like, I mean, Indigenous Australians are an obvious ally, particularly on immigration. I mean, at some point, we are going to have to think about women in a way that's not just for comedic purposes. And how you get them on board. Like, there's a lot of this stuff that has to be thought about at some point. Not right now necessarily, but at some point it's going to have to come up. But Jordan Nebuzade just said, wait, when didn't he win? I'm one of the few people I've ever encountered on our side of politics who has very strong views on this. He absolutely did not win in 2020. Like,
no, I disagree. He's got a third-term president.
No, he lost. And do you know why he lost? I'll tell you why he lost, because I've spoken to a lot of people from the States about this, about the real reason he lost and why no one from the Democrats. See, the Democrats were almost as desperate as the Republicans for the narrative that the election was stolen actually helped them. Because do you remember that the meme, the curve where it just goes up and then it just like spikes really quickly, right? Mm-hmm. Which represented 1.8 million votes, which Biden got in that election that no other Democrat had in a really long time. And that was kind of like the case that the Republicans said, oh yeah, like, how did he just go from like this extra I think it was like 1.6 million votes out of nowhere? And the answer was because there hadn't been a white male Democrat run in a decade, right? So they ran Hillary last time and they ran Obama twice. And so what do you think all the good old boy establishment Democrats in the South did in the Obama years and when Hillary ran? They stayed home. But when Biden ran, they all turned out. And that's what cost Trump the election, was old world establishment Democrats turning out to vote for the one white guy who's run for the Democrats in a decade. And then what happened, right? They ran Kamala Harris the next time, and then suddenly all those votes disappeared. That's what the Democrats never wanted to talk about. The Democrats didn't want to talk about the fact that they had 1.5 million voters who are incredibly racist. So, yeah, I don't believe that Trump had the election stolen.
No, I fully believe he's a third-term president. It was all stolen. No facts or figures can convince me otherwise, because it suits my narrative.
Oh, we got Enoch back. Welcome back, Enoch. At the end.
G'day, mate. I'm back just to say that Biden got more black votes than Obama did in Obama's second.
Yeah, no, he did too. Yeah,
so that was
he was a great candidate. he was actually
he was a
real
real
G.
G.
Like,
It was dynamic.
he was a real G. He was
Yeah,
fun. Like,
his son was
Quick
out there
thinking.
plowing chicks and doing crap.
I love
Like,
Hunter Biden.
know,
Hunter Biden's my spirit animal. I'll go full Drew Pavlou in defense of Hunter Biden. Right, I know Hunter Biden's like in Sydney. We had a running joke for.
I
we
remember
called
the
it-
attacks on him were like, oh, he sleeps with heaps of chicks and like
Yeah, he sleeps with
parties.
all these prostitutes and he does crack.
Yeah.
And I loved in the court case when he got done over the illegal firearms conviction, and they're interviewing the hookers, and they're all going, "He was the nicest John I ever had." Like it was just the funniest. I knew guys like Hunter Biden in Sydney, and we used to call it the pipeline because it's a real phenomenon where guys hit 50 and they get, and it's particularly like if you're in big business, if you've got a bit of money sitting in the bank, you hit 50, you get divorced, you start smoking crack or hear meth, and then you just start having really wholesome relationships with 20 sex workers at once. And we called it the pipeline. Like we'd meet guys out and they'd be looking a little bit haggard and they'd have a tooth falling out, but they were happy and they have a beautiful woman on their arm and they were twitchy at like 3 a.m. We say, hey, he's on the pipeline. That's Hunter Biden. So I'm a big fan of
People are losing their minds. They're like, it was obviously stolen. They're obviously correct. John's wrong. It was stolen, and we were just.
I think Jordan just posted, I'm now a trans Dominion shill. I'm very relaxed on the trans stuff. I've never had a huge issue with it. Like, there's not enough intellectual like space to have a nuanced opinion on every single one of the degenerate issues going on in the world today. So I just can't.
Yeah, I've never done a deep dive into it. Like if I was ever
not like the Catherine Deves and people who make
like if I was ever
challenged
challenged to a debate on it, first of all, I wouldn't do it because debating is gay. But if I were to decide to be gay for a day and engage in a debate, I wouldn't.
Gay for a day.
Yeah.
That could be a stream of consciousness kind of promotion. Like, do stream of consciousness, gay for a day. We do the stream for 2 hours where we're both gay. Yeah.
But yeah, if I decided to be gay for a day and start, debating, it wouldn't be on the trans issue because I've never really bothered to go into the ideology of it. I just think they look weird, and I don't like weird things around. I like nice things. It's literally as that. It's really that simple. Like it's really I agree. Like if you put it on the IQ distribution meme, I'm at the brain level, which is like they look weird and I don't like it. I can't be bothered going because I haven't got time. Like I haven't got time.
Mike Marr, I think, in Gothic Violence, who I've cited twice tonight because I was reading it today, he has a whole chapter called like Trans Romanticism and You, and he raises the prospect that like within our lifetimes, like the technology will just keep advancing. So like you said, like right now you're like, oh, it looks weird or whatever. But what happens when the technology gets better? Right? Because
what happens when they look like
that's the scary part, right? Because the technology could just keep. I mean, look at Ozempic, right? Like, I mean, I'm single, right? I'm trying to find a girlfriend. I'm going on the apps and stuff, and like I remember when I was on Tinder. I mean, I haven't been single in a really long time. Like last time would have been maybe like 2017, 18. And a lot of heavier girls because I'm a heavier man, and so they think, I mean, I can get with that. But a lot of that, but not now. Like, and a lot of girls you're talking to, and you're like, you have the personality of a heavier girl.
You used to be a duff.
You don't look it.
Designated ugly fat
and
friend.
I almost feel that Ozempic is a kind of HRT. Right, because you've got the personality of an overweight woman, but you're not, and it's I think you take that to its extreme over the next decade as they start to the medication gets better and the surgeries get better, and there's AI generated neo pussies or whatever the fuck they are, like
uncanny true,
like like that's the uncanny true. When I saw someone, I don't like. It's one of the few slurs I don't like because I just think if you're a population of people below 1%, I don't think you get a slur. I think like a slur for a group of people that is under 1% of the population is kind of unfair. But I saw someone talking about in prison when they burn the plastic bag, when they put the plastic bags and they melt them to make the hormone syrup. They called it Troonshine. And I have been using that a bit lately, like jacked up on True and Shine. Yeah.
With the Ozempic chicks, I've noticed it too, which is like the whole Quirk Chungus chick that you
and
they
now
were always Chungus,
and now they're doing it,
they
and
were quirky. And now you see them and they're kind of skinny and Quirk Chungus. And
I don't like it. I gotta admit, I don't like it.
But you're like, there's no reason why you're quirky unless you used to be a
you used to, and now you've been taking the stuff, and I mean, I'd never take it. Like I like to know exactly how much
Chungus.
Yeah, I eat so much French food and drink so much wine that it's, it'd be weird if I'd probably die. I've heard of people getting Parkinson's and stuff from it.
Yeah.
I've got
Green Goblin says
Enoch's basically of circling death.
Fat chicks don't want to be with chunky guys because it makes them feel fat. You'd always see them go for the thin guys, and it was actually like when I've always been a bit of a bigger guy as well, and it was thin girls who just didn't care about it. That's my experience.
I don't know.
So I don't know how Ozempic's going to change that, because in their head, are they still overweight and they want a thin guy?
Maybe. I don't know.
And I think there's money on the table marrying.
We should do more research into this. I mean, I've been thinking about getting into like manfluencing, like becoming one of those like Andrew Tate guys, and just giving like honestly, when I meet some of these guys in real life, like I think, man, you need a girlfriend, or at least you need to go out and just meet some women. So I've been thinking about it.
Maggie says they're looking into it. Into what?
I think Maggie's looking into the new technology I was referring to.
Where turn everyone into Dua Lipa.
Yeah.
At that point, it becomes okay, right? It's like,
when Maggie does the joke about it, thank you, Maggie. Yeah, because I danced around it in the last stream. I didn't want to be mean about it, but
far out. This is where the stream just goes off the rails. That's all right.
We've covered a lot. We've covered a lot tonight. Cheryl Pym says, "Have you guys been outside meeting women?" Not very well. Adam says there are no girls in Hobart. There are girls down here, but none of them seem to like me very much. This is the longest period I've been single in, I think, a decade. So I'm self-imposed. So until December 26th, Boxing Day, I'm going to be single for, which will be 6 months, which will be the longest. I think she's married. I think she might be married.
Well, that kind
when the age verification on social media kicks in, John? That's when you're
proposing. Yeah. I think I don't want to have to kind of compromise on my standards of insanity too. So, girls down in Tasmania, they're very what's the word? Homely. Kind of like, and they're normal. Like they don't have weird shit going on. Like in Sydney, you'd go out at night, you'd meet a girl, she'd be like,
by the hellscape that is Sydney. So they've got like a weird...
They take 40 milligrams of Vyvanse, they have a skull collection, like they stabbed their last boyfriend in the eye, like...
Yeah, because Sydney's driven them...
They've got Charles Waterstreet's phone number tattooed on their ass or something. Like they're interesting. You don't get that in Tasmania. You don't get that kind of...
Tasmania's still kind of protected, so it's like, you can still live a nice, wholesome life in Tassie, which means that everyone's like relatively balanced and not jaded.
I'm not a huge fan of that.
No. You want those jaded Sydney girls that'll just kind of sit on your face.
Not really. I don't know. I don't like being intimate with women. I just like having them around.
They just orbit.
Yeah, I just like having them in my presence, like an objet d'art. Like, that's like my thing with Abby Chatfield. I was like, I don't want to touch her. Like, I want to marry her, but I want to have her like just in the house, like an art exhibit.
Just cooking oysters, Kilpatrick, and then she can.
Well, I actually put this in the piece I'm writing at the moment about the defense of Abby Chatfield, which is kind of also like a not a takedown, but just a repudiation of some of the stuff that goes around in the manosphere. And I hate that whole trad wife culture. Like, oh, I want a wife that cooks and cleans. No, you fucking don't. Have you ever seen a woman clean? They're shit at it. Like, and women can't cook that well. Like, women will have like 3 or 4 good like slop dishes they can make, but women cannot do fine dining. Like, if you say to your wife, "Make me steak frites," she's gonna make you like just a slab of either overcooked or undercooked meat. Women hate cooking with butter as well. Like, I've noticed, like, butter is and also because they think it makes them fat. Like,
well, but also their idea of the stove is either it's off or it's on maximum.
They don't know. They really don't know how to cook.
They don't know how to manage temperatures. So then they put butter in the pan, it burns, they lose their shit, and oh my god! And then you're the bad guy.
This whole like, oh, you need a trad wife and she wears gingham and she cooks for you and she cleans for you. That's bullshit, man. 1, get a cleaner. 2, get a chef. Like, that should be your aspiration. And then you get a woman who just kind of sits on a plinth all day and provides inspiration for your great works. Like, that's all I want. Like, I just want to have a muse, who just provides me with inspiration. I don't know. I don't really want an actual girlfriend. But anyway, that's probably too deep.
You just need 3. You need the cook, the cleaner, and then the plinth thought.
Yeah, and the plinth girl. Yeah. Was one of my favorite sayings. You don't hear it much anymore because Australian corporate culture is so cucked now, but I used to hear it all the time when I go drinking with like finance guys in the early 2000s. The triple F rule. If it flies, floats, or fucks, rent it. And it's stuck with me over the years. I thought, that's the way to be, right? Rent a boat, rent a plane, rent a wife. That's how you want to live your life,
And he's single, ladies. So,
Yeah, if anyone watching this is a woman and is single, please message me.
If you were open to being rented.
Actually, I love that piece.
Plinth experience.
I love that. There's a piece, Scott Alexander, who's an amazing writer, has been doing this series on Substack about, like, it's called Bay Area Parties, and it's about like going to parties in San Francisco. And his most recent one is absolutely spectacular. I'll put a link on X later so people can read it. It's free. And in it, it's about all these tech guys who go, they put on their Tinder profiles that they go to dissident right parties. And that Curtis Yarvin is often there, and they'll go out and they'll go to an actual party that Curtis Yarvin is at, and they'll get their photo taken with Curtis Yarvin, and then they'll tell girls that they go to these parties, and then they'll host parties where they get an actor to play Curtis Yarvin, so that everyone can bring a hot journalist to the party. And ever since I read it, I've been thinking, like, how funny would it be if we did that? Like, here in Australia, like, just said, I go to all the dissident right parties in Victoria, and Dr. Stephen Shavura and Dr. McInerney will be there. And we just get a bunch of like these kind of comely Fairfax girls to show up, and they've got no choice but to flirt with us because they think that McInerney and Shavura are going to be there talking race realism.
We can hit on Patrick Begley.
Patrick Begley will be there, in a dress. Todd Carmelo says female AFP agent coming John's way.
The thing is, John would happily accept knowing that they're an AFP agent just so that they sit on a plinth to amuse him.
Well, I think, were you in the group chat the other day when I was telling that story about the guy who's in China, and he was hanging out with a bunch of diplomatic corps and like political staffers during an official visit. And he had a girl come up to him in the bar who's like really obviously a CCP asset. And she asks what he does for a living. And he was in some kind of sketchy import-export stuff that, I knew him from. And so he didn't want to tell us. He just said, I'm a political staffer. So she sleeps with him. And then the next morning he's saying, wait a second, if I lie to a CCP honeypot and say that I'm a government worker and then she sleeps with me, does that mean that there was no consent? Because she was only sleeping with me because she thought I worked for the government. But if I don't, like if a CCP spy finds out that you don't really work for the government after she sleeps with you, was that rape? Like, that's a question.
It's a weird version of.
Does the CCP have a rule for it? Or what?
It's your patriotic duty to distract her from real targets, surely.
Yeah, it is your patriotic duty when you're in Shanghai or Hong Kong and a 10 comes up to you. I think it was Elon Musk said this. So like, if a 10 comes up to you at a party, she's an asset, right? If one does it, then you have to tell her you work for the Australian federal government and sleep with her. So until we find out the answer to this question,
we need to track like this time slot in the stream, and then look at Google flight data to see how many Anons are booking trips to Shanghai. Like, they're like, wait a minute.
yeah. Actually, Anons, what you should do is when next time any of you fly to Hong Kong, like, message me, and it'll be like, in like a spy movie. I will give you an identity. You have my permission when you are in Hong Kong or Shanghai.
Everyone's John McGowan.
To tell everyone you are John McGowan, former Liberal Party staffer, and just tell these girls that and see what happens. Just monkey wrench the entire MSS, like, Red Sparrow program. Like, all these poor. I mean, they'll do like a 60-minute special on it in 10 years. Like, I was a CCP Red Sparrow operative trained to seduce government agents. Little did I know, I was sleeping with normies.
Gerald Pim's asking if there's any CCP assets watching the stream. He's got secrets to share. So yeah, DM him.
Marshwood says, "Why didn't? Yeah, when is it?" I am Marshwood. Actually, a little bit of news. I am fielding offers to actually get paid to write something about Bruce, and I'm in two minds of it, because I mean, if you follow that story closely, there is a curse of Bruce Lehrmann. So everyone who has tried to profit from the entire fiasco loses their life savings and their entire life. And I've been fine. I was fine after it because I didn't make any money out of it, and I just kind of like continued stumbling through my pathetic life. But I do make a bit of money out of the Substack at the moment, and I'm thinking, fuck, if I put something up about it and I get paid for it, will I invoke the curse of Bruce Lehrmann? So I'm thinking about it. Whatever I do, it's going to go on the Substack and it's going to be free, and it's just going to be like a serialized book or something about it. And it's not going to be like, any kind of serious insidery stuff. I just think people would get a kick out of knowing just how crazy that thing was internally. Maggie Perry says, is John McGowan a monarchist or a Republican? Makes you think. It's a funny thing. I used to be a monarchist, a hardline one, and I am a Yarvanite kind of feudalist at heart. But in the Australian context, I'm absolutely a Republican, and it's mostly because the UK has fallen. And if I wasn't a Republican before, like the Archbishop of Canterbury being a woman probably really solidified it for me. So. Green Goblin says, John, are we getting my Zoom? Green Goblin and I were talking about this the other day. Zoom magazine, which, could be great for the new right as a movement to kind of resurrect lad culture from the early 2000s. And you can buy Zoo and Ralph magazine. The actual rights to them are up for grabs right now. So if anons want to pull their money and buy a legacy magazine brand, you absolutely can.
That'll be our next venture, Stream of Consciousness magazine.
Yeah.
Maggie's saying Post Party register. Yeah, I think someone was asking, do we think that AEC will let the White Australia Party register? I think so. Like, if they get the numbers, they're just going to have to do it.
Yeah, if they get the numbers. I mean, let's just see, right?
Yeah, Exactly.
There are known knowns and there are unknown unknowns and there are unknown knowns, etc. Like, we just don't know. Like, it's not worth speculating on. I hope they do it, but yeah. Raw egg nationalists, man's world. Yeah.
Don Caramello, Zoo of Consciousness. Yeah, exactly. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
I think we're probably going to wrap the stream up soon, though. We've gone for almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah. It was big because it was just you and I. Like, we didn't have any guests on.
Yeah, we didn't have any guests. Well, we were meant to have a guest.
To see what. Yeah, guests pull the pin. We just have. We're getting there, I think. And thank you guys. Thanks you very much, guys, who keep tuning in every week, because this is why we do it. Is because Actually, we did okay numbers. We did 2.2K.
Yeah, not too bad. Given it was, two chumps and Enoch slowly dying, I think we did pretty well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We have been doing really well, especially compared to Topher Field and people. I've noticed, our streams have been doing great, and we do better than Rookshan.
Yeah, it's wild to see. We're kind of really only siloed on X, and we've got a YouTube channel for anyone who wants to subscribe. It's let me bring the banner up. Actually, it's on subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
There it is.
Sock Pod.
So we've only really been putting this on X, but it's interesting to see. Topher's got 50,000 followers, and his recent live stream, I think, beating.
Yeah.
And Rookshan is not getting the numbers. So it's the stream of consciousness reigns supreme.
Yeah, I think we're starting a movement. We're starting a revolution, guys. All that stuff.
We'll get
very soon. We're gonna be winning Libertarian of the Year awards, just like Topher.
Do you know
he's the easiest one? Because you guys know me. As soon as I actually meet someone and talk to him, I mellow on him. I mellowed on Joel Jamal really quickly, and I'll probably mellow on Rookshan. I'll never mellow on Arby because I don't think he likes me. But yeah, I'll never mellow on Topher. Every single video I watch it. Yeah, Rob Dobalina says he's kind of a big deal, you guys. Have you seen his latest one where it's a 10-minute rant about how you don't even know how hard it's been for the last 10 years to be the lone voice in the wilderness demanding that the age of consent be lowered? That's not really what he said, but that's the kind of shit he says.
I try not to watch this stuff. I just the one that drove me up the wall was the March for Australia stuff, and then it was a great success, and then there was no follow up. At least the other guys were willing to admit that they got it wrong.
Yeah. Which but it's just a classic libertarian thing, right? They hate winning, and they hate having people like them. Whereas I think Joel saw the writing on the wall. I think they all saw the writing on the wall and went, "Hey, actually, this is something we got to support." Actually, are we going to? What date? What's the date today? Are we going to have another stream before? No, we got a stream next week.
We'll have another stream next week. We're going to dedicate a portion to talk about it. Look, before we wrap up, as always, next March for Australia is coming. It's coming fast. You got to go. Everyone's got to get out.
You got to go.
You just
got to get out there and march, guys.
There's no reason not to go. So you have to do it. All of you have to go. And you have to shill it, and you have to plug it, and you have to share it, and make sure you get all your mates going. But look, I think we're going to wrap up. Thanks to everyone for tuning in yet again. We really appreciate it. Onwards and upwards. John,
stay patriotic. It's been 3 episodes. We're experimenting with a sign-off. I don't think any of them have really landed so far.
No, we don't really have one yet. We kind of just
stay conscious.
Yeah. No.
No, it's not working. That's not working. Yeah, we'll workshop it. We'll workshop it with the AI.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Stay conscious. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, bye.